This is... Oh!
That you can see his asshole.
Yeah, the boss is at the wrong orientation and everything. Like, what the fuck is
The
going
boss-
on?
Oh, Blizzard.
Little scuffed.
The boss is like on its side. Like the whole room.
I
The
can
bo-
rush
yeah,
if
if you
you
look
want.
up, the boss where we're supposed to stand is...
Oh my fucking
Wait,
Christ.
When
That was sick.
Yeah, Master Race.
What is this?
This is so
Nah, you don't want to be down here. You
Blizzard.
really don't want to be down here. We're not going to be fighting down here, fellas.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fight you've all been waiting for, and you will have to wait a little bit longer. This was not Blizzard's finest hour by any means. I'm not going to go into the details. I'll do that at the later end of the video. I will show you, first of all, what we can see of the Ny'alotha fight. First of all, it's a little less grandiose than the Fury of Ny'alotha, or the Carapace of Ny'alotha, which was the fight leading up to this. But he still looks cool. Still a very, very large room, which we will be utilizing to its maximum potential. Two phases in this fight, the mind phase and the normal phase. Of course, many tentacles to be had. So this fight is basically a mix of Cthulhu. Apparently there's going to be a Yogg-Saron style thing where we'll go to a Sylvanas scenario and a Deathwing scenario. That is going to be in there. We did not get to see it. That is unfortunate. So this is like a preview, and I believe this boss is going to be open for testing again. In fact, as I record this, my guild is currently AFK on the PTR to see if Blizzard reopens the fight, if they manage to get it fixed. It's unlikely, but who knows? So what happens here is you have the sanity bar again, but this time, unlike the Carapace of Ny'alotha, we're not using the legendary cloak in order to reset or rebuild our sanity. Now it is the Heart of Azeroth, which is an interesting change that they've decided to make. I'm not surprised. I'm not sure why they've decided to do that. But now only in the normal phase, when you're in the normal realm of the fight, you're able to channel the Heart of Azeroth. It has a 2-minute cooldown, which will rebuild your sanity. And of course, taking damage or unnecessary things is going to drop your sanity, and ultimately you'll become mind-controlled. You could still tremor the mind control. This was something they fixed on the mythic version of Il'gynoth. Is mind controls are there as well, and they fixed being able to tremor it. So it might be a case of in heroic and normal, they're going to let you tremor mind controls should people make mistakes, which I think is fine. You're not unlikely to have so many shamans that you can just keep breaking people. That's likely not to be the case. So when the fight starts, when it does pull, when it actually activates, you will be pulled into the mind realm. And in there, you're going to find all these tentacles that you've got to deal with, okay? They're going to be all over the place, and you're also going to see copies of your body that have been left behind. And these are vital, because this is how you're going to get out of the realm again. You're going to have to clip your corporeal form or your actual body in order to make things happen. So while you're in here, your job is to kill this large enemy, the psychosis that has formed in there. And you have to kill that pretty damn quick. So the way you could do this is you'll see all these tentacles around that are channeling on you. And the only way to break the channel is actually to move 40 yards away, which can be a little bit tricky. It sounds easy, but often if you're moving in the wrong direction, you'll move out of the channel of one of them and another one will target you because you're close to it. So you have to be a little bit careful with your movement here. But every time one of these tentacles dies, you can't just multi-dot AoE them. Once one of them dies, they all heal to full, so multi-dotting is not really recommended. But as long as one of them dies next to the Psychosis ad, it will get debuffed to take extra damage, and then you could stack that up. So the idea is you drag this Psychosis around, killing the tentacles next to it, debuffing it so it can be killed. And that's because later in the fight, you're going to have smaller groups of people killing this than the entire raid, which is what you have in phase 1. Now, every time a tentacle does die, though, it's going to... in fact, it's actually the ad. The Psychosis drops a pool of sludge, which moves very, very quickly, obviously drains your sanity, and fills the room up. So you have to kind of plan the route you're going to take in order to get back to your body. Because once the Psychosis is dead, you then need to get out of the mind realm and back into the normal realm where you can actually start DPSing Ny'alotha. And this has a number of really cool mechanics going on with it, which requires some attention. Such as it either pulls you towards the boss and does a lot of damage to you, or it'll push you away from the boss and push you out of the fight. And you can kind of see this animation on your character indicating which one it's going to be. He does a number of other things here, such as pairing you up with random players, so you have to stand with each other, things like that. But ultimately, he's going to open a mind gate. Now, the mind gate can be taken by anyone and everyone, but once you go in, you are debuffed, so you can't take it again. The mind gate is going to take you back into the mind realm where you'll rinse and repeat what you did before, but now, obviously, with a smaller group, you're going to have to use the mind gate several times throughout the fight, which means you can't send everybody in. In fact, you're going to have people staying in the normal realm who are going to be tackling these large Cthulhu-style tentacles where there's big ones and there's different types. Some of them needs interrupting. This fight is all about like 2-target cleave. So any class that does 2-target cleave, they're going to be really strong, certainly for phase 1 and 2. Now, phase 3 is where we're going to start seeing the scenarios that you've seen on Garish Hellscream, that you've seen on Yogg-Saron, those kind of things, where you'll be pulled into a different realm to deal with some other stuff. I can't show you that, so I'm not really going to talk about it. So that's the basics of the Ny'alotha fight to get you started. I know you guys are hoping for more, but as I said, this was not Blizzard's finest hour. In fact, the raid testing started with another boss called Mort on Mythic mode, which was utterly broken. Utterly broken. It insta-killed the raid constantly, no matter what you did. It put a curse out, which is the Mythic mechanic, is this curse, but it was bugged and just instantly wiped everybody out. So there was nothing we could do. And in fact, we had to deal with that for nearly 40 minutes of the boss just not doing anything until Blizzard said, it's broken. So the only thing they could come up with was to stop testing Mort because they couldn't fix it and activate Ny'alotha early. Ny'alotha was broken as well, which was... It was frustrating, let me tell you guys. This has been the longest raid test we've done entirety for Ny'alotha, and we got so little done. It's just been a hell of a night, and big shout-outs to our raiders who were, like, sticking with this while we put up with all this. A lot of frustration was building up. So Ny'alotha you could only pull once before he completely bugged out, and the only way you could fix it, ultimately some clever sods did figure out that if you hid down behind the platform and used a hunter using Crucible of Flame and then instantly feigned deathing, that you could actually get the boss to activate again. But before we found that out, what you had to do was pull the boss, come back in, Hearthstone out again, reset the entire raid instance, then go back into the raid with a fresh one and hope it worked. And it didn't work 4 out of 5 times. It would still not work. We had theories flying around Discords, on Twitter, on Wowhead, that maybe if you just melee pulled it, that would make it work. Ultimately, we did find some solution to it. But eventually, it got so bad that so many testers, guild testers who weren't part of this little information circle, just couldn't test anything because the boss was purely broken for them, is that they cancelled Ny'alotha testing. So we only really got like 4 pulls on this boss. Then they decided that the best solution was to reactivate Mort on Mythic mode in order to keep testing going so they got some valuable information. Now, you might be saying, why didn't they just cancel the testing and say it's scuffed? Honestly, usually they do not like having more than one test night on the final boss. They just want to check it's working. It's clearly not. And therefore, they were trying to drag it out. That's why we're still on the PTR as I record this, because they might put Ny'alotha back up again, despite the fact it's nearly midnight here in the EU, in order to figure this boss out. But I'm as disappointed as you guys. Was really looking forward to this. In fact, most of our team was exceptionally excited to see what Ny'alotha had on offer, especially after the awesomeness that has been the entire rest of the raid, and in particular the carapace of Ny'alotha. So I wish I had better news for you. I was asked all day, which is why I'm quite sad. I was asked all day by so many people about Ny'alotha and when I'd get the video out for you. So I really wish I had more to tell you, but I don't. So we'll see what happens. They'll probably test this again, despite the fact they don't want to. And we'll go from there, guys. We'll go from there. On another note, for those of you who are Mythic Raiders thinking about Mort, they literally just added a curse that needed to be dispelled. That's it. Like, the Mort fight is the same. If anything, it's certainly the most boring Mythic boss they've put in, because it's basically heroic, but with a dispel. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Sorry again. Nothing much I can do. Bye-bye.